Alright, time for another Yap Fest. Now, I think I'm going to start it by talking about Pop writing. Because last time when I was mentioning Family Guy and how I wasn't the biggest fan of Seth MacFarlane writing, I had also mentioned Pop writing and said I would talk about that at another time because it's a longer topic. Now, I probably could have fit it in there because the video is an hour and making it any longer than that wouldn't really matter all too much. But, I don't know, maybe it's a better idea to start this Yap session with my thoughts on Hazbin Hotel. So, I had watched the pilot when it came out, and I actually kind of like the pilot. It's pretty cool. I liked the concept behind it, the whole idea of, oh, what if we had a hotel and we were trying to redeem sinners? I thought that was a pretty interesting idea to make a story about, so I was pretty excited for the show. And I liked that the pilot was kind of subtle about storytelling. You aren't really told everything, but you can infer it from little subtle details like the clock and stuff. And the extermination, the past of the place, I don't think they were really outright explained. It was just something you had to figure out on your own. And I like that. I like that the story treats you as someone who can figure this out and doesn't really spoon feed you everything. I also think Alistair's character was kind of better in the pilot. It's hard to explain, but I feel like in the pilot, he was more interesting. And in the full show, he went more on the trying to appeal to Tumblr audience. I also feel like the pilot was a bit more subtle about humor. Like, there were way more funny jokes. There was one joke that I still remember, just because it was so stupid. The weird, horny spider monster thing was like using the word daddy sexually or something at the snake guy, Sir Pretentious or whatever, and he replied with, "Son?" That was kind of funny. I thought that was funny. Just completely, like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of, like, what that type of humor is called, but I thought that was funny. Um, Pilot had a lot of energy to it. It was a really interesting watch, and I was excited for the rest of the show. But I was a little bit disappointed by the full series once it came out on Amazon Prime. So to start off with, they go over the past of what's going on and do more exposition dump, but I think the exposition dump was a lot less subtle than it was in the pilot, and I heard somewhere that the pilot isn't actually canon anymore, and that's a real shame because it's actually my favorite episode of the show. So we're told about Charlie's mission and stuff, and basically everything is spoon-fed to you because, I don't know, I guess they wanted to appeal to more people since the more you spoon-feed things to the audience, the more people can understand the show. And letting everyone understand the show isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does get rid of, depth and subtlety and makes it, I just feel like it's better to have some depth with a idea like this because it is talking about more complicated themes. But okay, we get introduced to Adam, the angel that's like leading the exterminations, and I think Adam has got to be one of the most mishandled characters in the show. So, one of the biggest ideas of Hazbin Hotel is that anyone can be redeemed. There is good in everyone. Now, my problem with this is that the antagonist, Adam, has no good in him. Like, nothing whatsoever. He's just completely a dick to everyone. He's toxic, misogynistic, likes killing people for fun. Now, this actually reflects a lot of the individuals in hell, but I feel like that's not exactly a good thing because this is a show about how there's good in everyone and anyone can be redeemed, but then we have this antagonist here who can't be redeemed, isn't good at all, and it kind of clashes with the themes of the show. And to top it off, they end his character by having him stabbed to death by a random, unfunny side character. That's how he dies. He never gets redeemed. There is no redemption to be had here, despite that being the main, idea of the show. He just dies to the unfunny side character stabbing him a lot, which was really disappointing. I also feel like Adam was made progressively more stupid throughout the show to make sure that the plot happens. The plot of Hazbin Hotel doesn't really happen naturally. It's very forced. They have plot points they want, and they just force it to go in that direction, which might stem from the fact that different people wrote each episode, and VisVPop was really screwed over by Amazon. Hazbin Hotel really needed more episodes. Amazon kind of gave them an amount of episodes that you can't really tell a story like this in that amount of episodes. You need more episodes. You need a longer season to be able to properly tell this story. So we have a rushed plot written by different people, and it ends up feeling disjointed and forced. In the courtroom episode, I feel like Adam was made dumber. He had this entire rule where he's not allowed to kill the hellborn demons, only people damned to hell. And openly announces in court that he's going to go kill a hellborn creature. What? Okay, so you have one rule that you agreed in with a contract, and you openly announce in a courtroom that you're breaking this rule. And that was kind of stupid. I feel like Adam was done really dirty throughout the plot. I don't know. The ribs joke was pretty funny, though. I don't usually find Hazbin Hotel's type of humor that funny, but there are some times that it did actually make me laugh, and I have to respect it for that. The joke where Adam is a hologram there, and then hands a rib to Charlie, and she tries to take the rib, and it's a hologram too, and he laughs at her for being stupid. That was really funny, honestly. Which actually is an interesting thing to point out, because Charlie wasn't really smarter than Adam in the beginning, but then just randomly became smarter than Adam whenever the plot needed her to be. And I think it's not really a good idea to force things like that. I think it's important for that to happen over time. But, that's what happens when Amazon fucks you out of a full season and only gives you 8 episodes. You have to rush things. One of the biggest examples of them having to rush things because of Amazon is how they rush the character development. Let's take Husk and Angel Dust, for example. Husk is the guy who's a bartender in the hotel, and Angel Dust is the weird spider thing that's really sexual and weird. Actually, my least favorite character, just because I don't really like the sexual gross out type of humor style he has, but basically they have an entire musical number about how Charlie's method of redeeming a sinner isn't really working, and they have a genuine character development moment, but the problem is the character development they have is against Charlie's method. Her hotel isn't really working, but what they have going on is working. And it's been a while since I watched it, but I do vividly remember the fact that they kind of just, in between episodes, switch over to agreeing with the hotel and agreeing with Charlie, even though it wasn't working, and they had a musical number about how the hotel wasn't working. And that was really off to me. I noticed that, and it was strange, because they shouldn't support the hotel. They shouldn't support Charlie's wishes at all. They shouldn't be willing to risk their lives to help Charlie, because Charlie hasn't actually been helping them. And they know this. They've pointed this out. Charlie isn't helping them at all. But then between episodes, it suddenly switches out that she is helping them. And I don't know. There's another plot hole that I wanted to mention, and it was the fact that the individual, I think her name is Vaggie or something, Which is, wow, nice name. I wouldn't be surprised if the entire point of the name was just for the joke where Adam calls her Vaggie. Yeah, sex joke. She got her eye stabbed out with an angelic weapon and it hurt her, right? How did she not know that angelic weapons could hurt angels? She is an angel and she was hurt by an angelic weapon. But she didn't know that later on. I feel like this was really just there to make sure they could have the plot of, like, all the overseers of hell and, like, Alistair's, like, group and stuff, and that one lady that had kids that she protected against an angel by killing them with an angelic weapon. I feel like that whole plot line was set in stone before Amazon had limited them to 8 episodes, and they kind of just forced everything together to make sure it all happened. I also feel like that's a really, GG, Vaggie, you just completely forgot about what stabbed your eye out. That's amazing. Really, as soon as she figured out that an angel was killed, she probably should have known. Like, oh, an angel was killed? Probably by an angelic weapon, you know, the thing that stabbed my eye out. And shout out to the angels for just leaving these weapons that are capable of hurting them all around hell every time they, like, okay? That's just a problem with the storytelling in general. And a lot of stories do this, where it's just forced. Like, plot always comes first. That's, yeah, but sometimes plot needs to... There's a thing called suspension of disbelief, and Hazbin Hotel broke it for me a lot. I don't know why they would just leave weapons that can kill them lying around in hell. I don't know why they would forget that those weapons can kill them. Maybe they were never told that. I don't know. Maybe the angels just never knew that these weapons could kill them as well. I mean, it's interesting that it has the property of making sure a sinner doesn't respawn, because normally if a sinner dies, they, like, just respawn back in hell. And if they get killed by angelic weapons, they don't respawn back in hell. Which actually brings me to a really interesting point. Why is the extermination a bad thing? Like, I was thinking about this a while back. Hell is a horrible place to be in, and they're trapped there forever. If they die, they just respawn. Why is it a bad thing that this extermination happens if hell is, like, this completely miserable place of torture? Wouldn't an extermination that makes it so you just disappear forever and don't have to suffer in hell, wouldn't that be a good thing? Like, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? Now, it is a thing to point out that there are a lot of individuals in Hazbin Hotel that enjoy being in hell, and that also kind of messes with the plot a bit. Like, in the first episode, Charlie has this musical number. I think it was like Happy Day in Hell or something, and that is accurate because everyone was, like, murdering and torturing each other, but they were very happy about this. And it has me thinking, is Charlie's entire hotel even a good idea if redeeming sinners, these sinners, they don't want to be redeemed. They like it in hell. Which is very strange. I don't know why you would like it in hell. Maybe they're all just sadistic freaks. But then at the same time, you got people that don't like it in hell, like, Husk, but I don't think he likes anything anyways, so... Oh, that reminded me of a pretty big elephant in the room. You're not going to understand the immediate train of thought I just had. Actually, I'll just explain it. So, I'm thinking about Husk here, right, and how he doesn't really enjoy it in hell because he doesn't really enjoy anything. But then I was thinking, Angel Dust. Angel Dust, pretends to enjoy it in hell, but they really don't. And... the rape episode. Oh, no. That... Something talking about rape as a concept should be uncomfortable to you. That's just a normal human response to something gross like that. because rape is really disgusting. So is sexual assault. It's just a really horrible thing. But I feel like Hazbin Hotel really mismanaged talking about this. You don't want to explain that it's bad with a fetishized pop song. That's just not how you want to go about things. I think it's a good thing they were trying to criticize this really bad industry of sexual exploitation, but I just don't think they went about it the right way. So I'm not criticizing it for existing, I'm criticizing it for going about it the wrong way. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts about Hazbin Hotel, well, the negative ones at least. I do want to point out that I really like the songs of Hazbin Hotel because I don't like just shitting on something but not having anything positive to say about it. So I do really like the musical numbers and voice acting of Hazbin Hotel. I think that's really great. And despite me, being stingy about a few plot elements because I am a writer and I do focus on writing a lot, it does do a good job at keeping me hooked and waiting for the next plot element. I will be watching season 2, and not just because I am excited to see, like, how these loose ends and plot points are handled. Because, like, despite me not liking a lot of the plot elements, I am waiting for season 2. But also because I'm excited to see if Visvi fixes a lot of these issues and, like, learns from past writing mistakes to make something better in the future. Because as you write, you become better at writing. That's just a natural thing. You write stories, and then you see what the problem with your last story was, and you fix it in the next one. So I'm waiting to see if Visvi Pop makes a better season 2 than season 1. So yeah, I am excited to see season 2. I don't think it was a waste of time watching this show, because there was some enjoyment to be had in it. I just think that, there are some issues, because no piece of media is perfect. And Hazbin Hotel has quite a few issues, actually. I don't really talk about other pieces of media this much when I have criticisms about them. I just avoid them. But the reason I talk about Hazbin Hotel so much and have so much to say about it is because the pilot genuinely had me hooked. I was very excited for this idea. I thought the concept was interesting, but then I thought it was just really mismanaged when the show actually came out. Both due to a combination of Visvi Pop not really accepting criticism, because once you've been criticized in unfair, ungenuine ways a lot, you begin to just filter out all criticism. Now, there are a lot of people who criticize Visvi Pop in really dumb ways that just aren't coming from a genuine place of wanting to see the show improve. But there are people who do criticize her with the idea that they just want to see this piece of media become better because they like the idea and some of the concepts presented, and they just want to see it executed better. There are two different types of criticism, and once you've got that toxic, unhelpful type of criticism, constructive criticism tends to just get filtered out by your brain, and you tend to just group it up with the other type of criticism. I try to be the type of criticism where I'm trying to help someone improve their piece of media. And it's sometimes hard to differentiate these two types of criticisms because they can both come off as really negative sometimes. So I don't blame Visvi Pop for dodging criticism so much. A lot of it has just been really toxic and unhelpful. Like when people look at Hazbin Hotel and the only thing they can criticize is, oh, the art style's so edgy. I think the art style and the character designs are fine, actually. Yes, they're a bit over-designed, but I think it gives the show character. And the animation's really smooth and pretty. I do actually like the pilot's art style better, surprisingly. And the character designs. I think it was very smooth and flowed well. And the shapes were really good. I don't know if that makes sense, but, And I think the other huge reason that Hazbin Hotel was not as good as it could be is because, Amazon screwed them over, and, yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Hazbin Hotel. I would talk about Haluva Boss, but I haven't actually watched that yet. I don't know if I will watch it. Maybe if I have a lot of free time where I don't feel like yapping, I could go watch it. But usually in my free time, I'm writing my book. And yeah, feel free to, like, I don't know, debate me or disagree with any of these points in the comments. It's just my opinion. None of this is factual information. Well, actually, it is objective fact that Amazon screwed over VisVPop with the 8 episodes thing. That's just completely true. You can't debate me there. But it is a really beloved show. There's a lot of people that do like it. So, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a bad show. I think it just has a few issues that could be made better. And I do respect VisVPop for managing to go through and make, like, an entire show and get a huge audience like that. That's something I really wish I could do. And, you know, it just takes a lot of effort to get there, and I respect that. What else should I yap about today? Oh, yeah. Let me think here. Oh, hey, there's the train going by. That train I talked about last time. I could end the yapping session here, but I don't know. I feel like only talking about Hazbin Hotel criticism in an episode would be kind of, I don't know, just not interesting enough. Oh, okay. I can talk about the fact that I tried writing a cartoon script once. Because, you know, I see a lot of cartoons and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try my hand at this. I don't think I'm ever going to actually get something animated. I just don't have the skill or time for that. But I have written, like, a few different scripts for cartoons, episodic stuff. I think one of the main ones that I wrote was, Aster Hollow. It was pretty interesting. It was a classic story where it's, like, these people in school or whatever, and they're, like, younglings, and then there's some crazy anomalous activity going on, and they have to fight the big bad evil. I don't know if I properly explained that type of genre well, but Gravity Falls, Amphibia, Owl House, that type, where there's kids and there's some evil magical stuff going on, and there's a big bad, like, you know what I mean by big bad. We got Bill Cipher in Gravity Falls, and Amphibia, we got the Core, and we got the Emperor in Owl House. I really like that genre. I like that a lot. Oh, there's also Hilda. There wasn't really actually there was kind of a big bad in Hilda, but they weren't really, like, the focus or the main conflict. They were just part of a little finale, but Hilda was a really good show. I liked Hilda a lot. Hilda is actually one of my favorite shows, along with Bless the Hearts and Gravity Falls. I like the chill, laid-back vibes of Hilda. It's just a really nice comfort show. I binged the entire thing. It was crazy. Oh my god, I can't believe I was talking about this genre and I just completely forgot to talk about Over the Garden Wall. Good lord, that antagonist was creepy. The Beast. Oh my god. That was a bad guy that got me hooked. You cannot just have this horrific shadow creature that, like, turns children into trees and not have me get interested. That's, like, a wild antagonist. That was a very short show, but it was really good. I liked it a lot. Over the Garden Wall. Absolute cinema. Yeah, I like that genre where it's, like, these kids from, like, a normal place, and then they find this crazy magical alternate reality area. So, I did something kind of similar to that genre, and I wrote a little show script called Aster Hollow. Except, I wanted to appeal to a slightly more older audience. So I wasn't using little kids, it was teenagers in high school. And one of the main, like, bad guys was a talking, moving shadow that was tied to one of the characters' feet. It was their own shadow, and it talked to them, and was evil and stuff. That was actually a reference to a book. Like, directly taking an idea from a book. It was a book, I think it was called Shadow Weaver, with the sequel called Comet Rising. That was a really fantastic read. Like, it's a kid's novel, but, like, I read it, and I was like, damn, this is fire. I would like to see that adapted to a movie or a cartoon someday. It was just really good. It had this like magic system where there was a comet that blesses people with abilities, and the protagonist has like this shadow that talks to them, and her shadow is like it's a sneaky little bastard, and it helps her do mischievous activities, and she has the ability to like weave shadows, which is why it's called Shadow Weaver. And the sequel's called Comet Rising because, they get powers from a comet. I'm not going to talk more about the plot of the book because I think you should go read it. It's really good. And I wouldn't want to spoil something that I'm telling you to read. I'm just saying it's really good and you should give it a try. It's not the best book ever, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. I It's been too long ago for me to comment on the quality of the writing or really specific things, but I did read it and I liked it. And I remember that I liked it because one of the main things you'll remember about a piece of media is how much you enjoyed it and why you enjoyed it or why you didn't enjoy it. So I can comment with absolute certainty that I did enjoy it. You know? I thought it was very interesting. And that's why I wrote something inspired by it. And I was also inspired by, like, Gravity Falls and stuff, obviously. Now, looking back, Aster Hollow isn't the best thing ever. I didn't really plan it out that well. It's a really jumbled mess. But I still like it, looking back and rereading my own work. I think the characters are interesting, and I like their interactions. I might actually go back and polish that up and remaster it one day, but, who knows. It would be cool if I could make an actual cartoon out of that. But, yeah, like I said, I just don't have the time or effort to learn animation. Maybe I could lock up an animator in a basement and force them to do it. Pay them, like, 5 crumbs of bread every week. And hit them with a whip if they don't animate fast enough. Basically, the average working conditions in Japan. Ooh, Japanese animation. That's a topic right there. Yikes. I've heard a lot of bad things about the working conditions for animators in Japan. I haven't really done in-depth research on that, so I don't really want to talk about it that much because I don't like being wrong. I'm always right because I don't comment about things I know I'll be wrong at. And I can say with absolute certainty that I've never said a lie or incorrect piece of information in my entire life. If you believe that I have, you are wrong. Flat out wrong. Mappa Studio. I really like Jujutsu Kaisen. I watched Jujutsu Kaisen and I liked it. I watched both seasons. I haven't actually read the manga. Is it manga or manga? I don't really know. I call it comic sometimes, and I call anime as cartoons because it makes weebs freak the fuck out for no reason. Ignoring the fact that anime is just the Japanese term for, like, cartoon or whatever, and it's completely correct to call it a cartoon because it's, like, an animation. It's a moving picture. But, yeah, I watched Jujutsu Kaisen. It was really good. I like the characters. I like Sukuna. He's my favorite. Sukuna is really interesting. Not going to comment on why. My lawyer has advised me not to mention why I like Sukuna, but I'm going to mention it anyways. I like characters that torture children. Anyways, I also really like Gojo. I like the idea of this really confident character that's kind of silly, but, like, and now, I don't know if the, like, 2 seasons we have has actually talked about this, but there's actually, like, the whole thing where he's kind of lonely because he's the strongest and there's not really anyone he can relate to. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know if it's, like, really explained that in depth in the anime yet because it only has 2 seasons. And anything else I know about the show is just from talking to fans of the comics and reading the wiki or watching video essays. Yeah, I spoiled myself a little bit. But I'm still excited to watch the next season of the anime whenever that comes out, because I don't know everything about it, and I have no idea how Gojo is going to get out of his little box, but, I can't wait to find out when I watch the next season. If you're not skipping past this, I'm assuming you don't mind spoilers. Just hit your arrow key a little bit if you don't want to be spoiled. I think season 2 ended with Mr. I Call People Monkeys being like, I'm gonna start the Calling Games, or something like that. I know that the next arc is called the Calling Games arc. I'm not entirely sure what all that is. I just know that there's some games and they're about calling. And I also know that Mr. Gambling fights Lightning Man in that, because I saw a fan animation of that was pretty cool, which was 3D animated, but it looked 2D. There's like these cool techniques 3D animators will use to make something look 2D. I think games like Genshin Impact and stuff also employ that same technique, which it's pretty cool technology to make. Like, the effort you have to go through to make these characters look 2D despite it being a 3D space. It's really interesting. I haven't actually played Genshin Impact. I haven't heard that many great things about it. I'm pretty sure it's a gacha game, and I'm just, not really a fan of that. I don't want to have to pay money or grind thousands of hours to get items. Similar to MMOs like, I don't know, World of Warcraft. I don't really have an interest in playing anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't really feel like grinding in a video game. I like Ultra Kill because everyone gets the same exact set of weapons to clear all the levels with. And it's not really about grinding to unlock new weapons. Now, you do have to grind the currency, which is called a P, to buy new weapons. But the amount you need to buy each weapon is such a small amount that you can usually buy every weapon just from playing through each level once, or playing through each level for a P rank. So it's never really that big of a deal. And then there's also the alternate weapons, of course, that you get by doing little secrets. And that's still not about grinding, though. It's just about finding where all these things are. So there's really no, pay money to get an advantage here, or having to grind thousands of hours to get the next sword or whatever. No, Ultra Kill, you get the weapons and you play with them and see what you can do. Most of the grinding you can do in Ultra Kill is actually just to become better at the game. Like, you have to practice something to get better at it. Speaking of practicing, that just reminded me of a completely unrelated thing that I'm going to talk about now. I used to play the clarinet. Yeah, that's a really unrelated topic. I used to play the clarinet. And I played it in, throughout elementary school up until 8th grade. Then when I moved on to high school, I didn't sign up for band again. I just kind of lost interest. If I picked up the clarinet now, I think I could relearn it, but, Back when I played it, I would get the fingerings and timings right, but I kept, making this really horrible squeaking sound whenever I played it. Something to do with not having the right mouth shape, or blowing too hard or something. I forgot what caused it, but it really held me back, and yeah. I was kind of a fool for picking the clarinet, not the saxophone. Because playing the clarinet is seen as a nerd. People would call me Squidward. But then if you play the saxophone, suddenly you're really cool. Which, I get it. The saxophone looks way cooler. Instead of playing this long black pole, you play this really cool curved golden thingy. And it sounds way better. Saxophone has got to be one of the most sexy instruments known to mankind. And me personally, if there was a woman playing a saxophone, I would let her step on me. That's how sexy the saxophone is. Now, I wouldn't do that for anyone else besides someone playing the saxophone. And that says a lot about the saxophone and how romanticized it is within society. That was a really weird thing to say. I'm sorry. Sometimes I make a joke like that that's just really unfunny. I will do better in the future. But still, saxophones are really cool. They're the cool person instrument. I saw someone playing the saxophone once, and despite looking like a really fat nerd, they actually looked really cool just by having a saxophone in their hands. That is an impressive feat. And you just can't say the same about the clarinet. The clarinet is absolutely disgraced by society. You are Squidward if you play the clarinet. You're the high SpongeBob guy. And yeah. So I stopped going to the band class when I switched over from middle school to high school. And not really that many people in my high school even know that I used to play the clarinet because it's not a topic that comes up a lot. And I moved states in between middle school and high school. Since it was COVID, I finished the rest of my 8th grade year online, but I'd already moved states somewhere else. And wow, there's another train. It's very loud. Yeah. So, since I was never in band when I moved to this new district, nobody really knew about that, so I mentioned it a few times in different conversations, but, it just wasn't, it's not really that type of thing you talk about a lot. You know what I would talk about a lot, though? The fact that I used to play football in middle school. I would talk about that, but since I'm not playing it in high school, I'm kind of a loser. You ever think about that? Sports are like the most respected thing in any given school district. You are cool if you play sports. I'm a nerd. I take film and acting. And I do CGI and computer stuff. That's why I'm a virgin. It has nothing to do with my looks or personality. It's because life is unfair and treats me unfairly for being a computer nerd. Obviously. It can't be anything else. Yeah, though, you get absolutely no respect or recognition for taking any sort of club or activity that isn't sports. So sad. Probably because sports takes a lot more physical effort, and you, win trophies for your school and stuff. I went to an event. Well, I didn't go there because I didn't make it to state. I failed at regionals. It was called TSA, which is an unfortunate acronym to pick because that's also it's like Technology Student Association or something. But the theme was that we had to make or not the theme. There's tons of different things you can do. The thing that me and my friends picked to do was to make a board game. And we put in a lot of effort and spent our own money on this. We spent a lot of money, actually, making these ceramic tiles that move around, and we 3D printed pieces and painted them. And one of my friends stayed up so late drawing these dozens of different card designs and laminating them and printing them out, getting them cut out, making this deck of cards. We designed and decorated a box. It was so cool. And we placed 9th. So we didn't make it to state. We failed at regionals. It was 9th out of 30 people, or 30 groups. Which, all things considered, and by all things, I mean the fact that we were competing against mostly much wealthier schools, that does sound pretty good, doesn't it? But here's the part that really irritated me. It was a competition to design a board game, and the judges didn't actually play the games. They were rated on the quality of the materials used and the instructions. Quality of materials used. How were we supposed to beat out these much wealthier school districts? We had to sell boxes of chocolate to even be able to afford to compete in this competition. Because schools, they're very stingy about what they give money to. Well, by stingy, I mean if you're a sport, you get money. And if you're not a sport, you don't get money. So, yeah, all the rich schools placed higher than us and epically defeated us. Gee, so surprising. Oh, yeah, we also got less time. A lot of schools started at the beginning of the school year, and we started late for some reason. That was really funny. Yeah. So, I have a teacher who is the golf coach. He teaches government and economics. And he's a boomer, big time. One of the things he always says is that if you're poor, it's your fault. You are poor because of the choices you made in life, and anyone can become wealthy and successful if they make the right choices. That has got to be one of the most out-of-touch opinions that I have ever heard. You can and will be screwed over because of your parents' wealth. It isn't just the choices you make. You get an advantage in life if your parents were more wealthy. And any out-of-touch boomer trying to say that you just didn't work hard enough, they are wrong. They are completely wrong. There is just a huge disadvantage if your parents aren't wealthy. So, is it just that you didn't work hard enough if you have to take out a student loan and there's no scholarships you can get? Because college is expensive. Isn't that an absolutely massive, disadvantage for poor people? The fact that so many of the high-paying jobs require these college degrees that are so cripplingly expensive. I really hope I can get scholarships because I don't want student loans. Student loan debt is one of the most predatory things in the economy. It will crush you. It will ruin you. This teacher has also got to be one of the most deranged political extremists I've ever met in person. He once said that rich people have an advantage in the legal system and that this is a good thing. Bro almost had a coherent thought. For a second, there was almost a glimpse of coherency in his brain. He realized rich people have an advantage in the legal system. Having money makes it so the legal system is easier on you. And then declared it was a good thing. Bro was so close to saying something true. But then blundered it all. He blundered it all. It was wild. I watched it happen in real time. Bro proceeded to say that rich people should have an advantage in the legal system because they worked so hard for their money. Oh my God. So, not all rich people worked that hard for their money. A lot of them were just born rich. So you're a guy that was born rich, and you have billions of dollars, and just get away with crimes. Because according to my economics/government teacher, aka golf coach, it's a good thing that rich people can get away with crimes because they're rich, because, they had to work so hard for that money. This teacher in general is really a deranged individual. Did you know that teachers aren't actually legally supposed to be able to share their political views with their students? You know why? Because that's political indoctrination. You're not supposed to politically indoctrinate the youth as a teacher. You're supposed to let them, think on their own and come up with their own ideas, not just tell them what to think. I see both political sides argue about this with each other, claiming that the other side politically indoctrinates their youth. Both sides do it, by the way. If you didn't know, the Republican and Democrat parties and left and right wing are actually fabrications invented by the elite to make sure that you never look up. You never look up like my man Luigi did. My economics teacher doesn't understand this, though. He is unenlightened. He's not as smart and intelligent as I am. He doesn't realize that, wait a minute, this stuff doesn't matter. There is a student in that class, and she has a backpack with rainbow straps with a Palestine and trans flag sewed onto the back, and she has dyed hair. I am just waiting for this individual to get into an argument with that teacher. She sits right next to his desk because he does the seating arrangement by last name. My last name starts with a W, so I'm absolutely screwed over in life. It's just so unfair. The people with the last name that's A, they get to go first and everything, but I have to go last because barely anyone has a last name that's a higher letter than W. I remember in elementary school, we would have to line up by last name in the lunch line, so I was always last to get lunch, and that was very unfair to me. That made me very upset, but it's not like saying I was upset would change anything, because, like, if you're a young person, nobody actually cares about what you have to think. I personally know this because if an elementary schooler complained to anything, like, about anything to me, I would literally just laugh at them because I don't care what children have to say. That's hypocritical because when I was a child, I wanted people to care about what I had to say. But if I was listening to what past me had to say, I would also laugh at past me. Not because whatever he's saying is, like, wrong or anything, but because I like laughing at children and making them cry. Anyways, yeah, I'm just waiting for this individual to get into an argument with my U.S. economics teacher. It would just be so funny. One time, we were watching a video in government class about the difference between the Republican and Democrat Party, and there was a section of the video that mentioned gay rights and how that was mainly supported by the Democrat Party. He usually pauses the videos and makes comments about whatever's going on to tell us his right-winger conservative opinion, which I don't care if you're conservative or progressive. I literally don't care. You can have your own political opinions. That's not my business. It is sort of a bad thing when you're a teacher indoctrinating your students with those opinions, because I think children should be left out of politics when it comes to, like, telling them political opinions. It's good for children to have, like, the latest up-to-date news if they can handle it, because sometimes politics can be scary for children. But he paused the video when it mentioned gay rights, and he was about to say something, but then unpaused the video. We were so close to something really funny happening. It would have been one of the funniest debates I've ever seen in my life. Politics are a really interesting thing. They can actually ruin friendships, and I think you should probably not talk about politics in friend groups, because it's one of the number one ways to just absolutely spoil a friendship if you have differing political beliefs. Just because politics are so, like, controversial and dividing. And they're meant to be controversial and dividing. That's why I always say that the point of politics is to divide the populace, because there are a lot of poor people and not a lot of rich people. And the fact that we have these two differing political parties and people get so mad at each other over politics means that people will never get mad at the rich for, like, screwing us over our entire lives. It's not one party's fault. Both parties are really corrupt and evil. So, I don't know if I'll vote once I'm 18. I don't know if I'll vote for either side. Because it's between old guy that wants to fuck me over and old guy that wants to fuck me over. we really don't get given that great of options. Um, I'm not even going to start talking about the previous election because, like, I don't think I need to say anything about it. I don't want to say anything about it. I am not majorly, like, a political speaker. If I was a political speaker, I'd probably have a lot to say, but I don't think I'm sophisticated enough to have proper, like, ideals about this election. It was certainly one of the elections of all time. Actually, I do have something to say. It's a really funny thing I noticed. I once knew this absolute boomer who voted Democrat his entire life, but switched to Republican during the election between Trump and Hillary. And he said it was because he refuses to vote for a woman. I thought that was really funny. Politics as a whole are really funny. There are two types of reactions to politics. Those who are like apathetic or maybe like just laugh at them, and those who are very scared of politics. Be the person that's either apathetic or laughing. Don't let politics rule your life. Don't let it ruin your friendships. Don't let it ruin your relationships. Because, like, people will do that. They will lose friends over politics and, like, get shunned out of online spaces and get, like, laughed at or whatever because they're so political and just can't stop talking about political beliefs. Just don't. Just be chill. You don't need to talk about the latest election. You don't need to talk about your views on any given topic. Because at the end of the day, does it really matter all that much what one guy online says? Like, you could criticize the US government all day, but posting online's not really going to do anything about it, is it? You're just going to look like an idiot to half of the populace, and half of the people online are going to dislike you over it. Because, let's face it, people will judge your character based on your political beliefs. And, I don't know, maybe you could argue that it's a good thing if these people block you over your political beliefs because you don't respect that kind of person. Now, my personal take on that would be, um, I could avoid that by not mentioning political beliefs, you know? So I don't really think that's that valid of a take. Like, oh, I'm glad I'm not friends with those people anymore. They politically disagree with me. That means you're just as bad as them. Like, honestly. I used to be more political. I was in the official conservative Discord server. I left it, though, because it was very toxic. I couldn't handle the toxicity. For a while there, I was kind of just trolling in the memes channel, but goddamn, that place was really horrible and just not very mentally healthy to be in. Every day, it was just these people arguing, and the conversations would be kind of horrible. You shouldn't be having debates over the value of people's lives or if they deserve to live or not. That's not great. That's not very good. I think politics might be one of the most corrupting forces. Like, politics can drive someone who would normally be an excellent person with a lot of empathy to being really murderous and hateful. And I just think that's not good for your brain. So, before I was able to be consumed by the rot, let me tell you, I never became that hateful of a person. I left that place. I was like, this isn't good for me. I don't like being here. This is uncomfortable. So I left. A while later, someone had accused me of being a Nazi because I was in that server. And that was just kind of wild for me. To be accused of being a Nazi. That was just... For the record, I'm not. I don't believe in Nazi ideology. That's not something I like. I think that's a very hateful ideology, actually. I don't agree with mass deporting people by train into concentration camps and genociding them. I think that's bad. That is a very mild political belief to have, isn't it? That genocide is bad. But yeah, genocide's bad. I don't like killing people. That's not very nice. I would rather be kind and not kill people, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, really wild statement here. I don't believe we should be mass murdering people. Absolutely out of this world statement. This is such a hot take. I can't wait to be flamed for this because it's just like such a revolutionary idea that maybe killing people is bad. I think one of the first places to say that killing people is bad is probably the Bible. Or maybe older religions and mythology, because the Bible definitely isn't the first like religious texts. But the idea that killing people is bad is not a very new idea, honestly. Absolutely like ancient take. One of the coldest takes in the world, actually. Probably like Antarctic level takes. Cold void of space level takes. Those planets that are so far from their star that you would freeze into a block of ice. Like, remember that one episode of Magic School Bus? Or bro takes off his helmet. I think it was on Pluto or something, and his just entire head turns into a block of ice. That was horrific, and that's how cold this take is. I think killing people is not good. Yeah, killing people is not good. Um, what else do I have to say about this? Yeah, just I would stay away from politics and just live your life way happy, like way more happy without having to worry about all these elections. Now, obviously, that can't apply for everyone because there are some people who are rightfully scared of the current political landscape of the country because what the government does affects your life. But the problem is, I think you should keep it out of like regular discussions because people don't always like to just get bombarded with political ideology every day. Maybe you're not bombarding people with political ideology. Maybe you're just like, hey, the results of this election have got me really scared. And I understand you and I respect that, but it just gets toxic to talk about politics all day and just to worry about all these horrible things happening. I would rather talk about things that are nice, like kittens. I like taking pictures of my cats and posting them online. Um, I think cats are really cool. That's what I like to talk about, cats. Now, obviously, you can't just talk about nice things all the time. Sometimes you have to talk about darker things. But wholesomeness in general is a really cool thing. And, you know, it's just better to stay away from this darkness and scary stuff. I don't know. That's just my view on this. Obviously, like usual, feel free to disagree. I would like for people to disagree with this video and comment about why they disagree. Because, it's interesting. We get to have discussions and actual conversations about the information that's presented in this video. And that's a really cool thing. The, the idea that as a sentient human being, you are capable of processing and understanding information and either agreeing or disagreeing with it. Completely random topic change. I have been lifting weights lately. Nothing really crazy. I just, wanted to build a little bit of arm strength. Because, it's always a good idea to work out a little bit. Even if you're not working out that much, every bit of working out you do is a little bit closer to being more healthy. And I think that's a great thing. That's a really awesome thing to think about. I think the weight is like this 25 pounds dumbbell. Dumbbell is the term for that, right? I'm pretty sure the small ones that you use one hand with are dumbbells. And then the ones with the really long bar and the huge weights on either side, that's a barbell. Yeah, I have like a 25-pound dumbbell that I lift every now and then. And, it works my arms out and, build some strength. Because it's always good to have a little bit more strength. It's a really cool looking dumbbell too. It's like, I have this one where it's adjustable and it has round weights and it's a black bar. I think that's cool. I've been yapping for about an hour by now, I'm pretty sure. So, I'll probably end it here. This has been the second episode of Yapping Sessions. I don't know if I'll post one every day because I am kind of busy during the week, but if I have topics I'm genuinely interested in and want to talk about, or someone like asks me a question in the comments, I will make a yapping video talking about these topics. I would love to answer questions that people comment. I think that would be pretty cool. I'll also upload this into like a little playlist that's a podcast. And yeah, goodbye, and I will see you in a potential part 3. Unless, I don't know, maybe I just get bored and decide to never make a part 3. That would be pretty in character for me, wouldn't it, Speed? That rhymed.